Now see here, in the previous class I have shown you some multiple choice questions in vectors. I have shown you about 26 questions, and I have also shown you the answers. So probably I hope that you have tried all these questions, and those students who were able to get the answers for all the questions, they can skip this particular class. They can directly go to the next class. So in this class I will be discussing the answers for some of the problems. So those who have doubts only in the last few questions, they can directly go to the next class and they can skip this class. Okay, look at the question again one by one. I'll be discussing one by one all the questions. And some of these questions come under the one of the special cases which I have discussed in the past, and if you are able to make out, you can solve faster. Otherwise also you should be able to answer from basic method. See the question number 1. A boat covers the distance between 2 points in a river 3 hours downstream and 4 hours upstream. A floating body in the river crosses these 2 points in. 4 options are given. Now I am going to discuss this question. Come on, look at the solution of this question. See the solution of the question number 1 in the multiple choice questions. Here T1 is the time taken to travel downstream between 2 points, and T2 is the time taken to travel upstream. You are asked to find the time taken to travel from one point to another by a floating body. You are asked to find the time taken to travel by the floating body. So one of the special cases discussed in the past, if T1 is the time for the same distance, if T1 is the time taken for downstream and T2 is the time taken for upstream, then the time taken to travel the same distance downstream with the speed of water is given by 2T1 T2 by T2 minus T1. Here T1 is 3 hours, T2 is 4 hours. So you get the answer as 24 hours. So that's the answer. But some of you may not remember this particular conclusion, which I have already discussed in the past in one of the special cases. Therefore, I would like to also solve the problem by using the basic reasoning that if a body moves with constant velocity, that magnitude of the velocity can be written as magnitude of the displacement divided by time interval. Let A and B denote the 2 points. Let U denote the magnitude of the velocity of flow of water. Let V denote the speed of the boat in still water. Let V denote the speed of the boat in still water. In the first case, it moves downstream from A to B, say distance F, in time T1. Moves downstream in the direction of the motion of the boat is same as the direction of the velocity of the river water. Here U is the magnitude of velocity of the river water, which is flowing from point A to point B. And V represents magnitude of velocity of the boat relative to water. or you can say V is the speed of boat in still water. So magnitude of the resultant velocity is equal to magnitude of the displacement by time. So here magnitude of the resultant velocity when it moves downstream, you can write V plus U. That you can write S by T1. The second case, it moves upstream, means it travels back from B to A. That means in the second case, direction of the motion of the boat is opposite to the direction of the flow of river water. Or you can say V bar and U bar act in opposite directions. Therefore, magnitude of the resultant velocity of the boat means magnitude of the velocity of the boat with respect to stationary observer on the ground will be V minus U. This is the direction of V. So same distance is covered with velocity of magnitude V minus U in time T2. To find the time taken by the floating body to travel the same distance, you have to find the value of U. That is speed of river water. So you subtract the equation 2 from equation 1 to find the value of U. Because the floating body moves in the direction of the flow of water with the same speed U with which the water is flowing. V plus U minus of V minus U equal to S into 1 by T1 minus 1 by T2. So if T is the time taken by the floating body to travel the same distance, then for the floating body you can write S equal to U into T. You can substitute the value of U from this equation here. You can simplify this to find U. On the left hand side you get 2U here. 2U equal to S into T2 minus T1 by T1 T2. Next you can substitute the value of U from this equation on the right hand side of this equation. You get U equal to S by 2T1 T2 into T2 minus T1 into T. This is the value of U. We have substituted it from here to here. If you simplify this, you get the same conclusion which I have directly written in the beginning. Then you can substitute the values of T1 and T2 to get the answer. If you want to copy the solution of the problem, you can take a pause and copy the solution of the problem. Then see the next question after this question. Now look at the second question. A boat takes 2 hours to travel 8 kilometers and back in still water lake. The velocity of the water is 4 kilometers per hour. The time taken for going upstream of 8 kilometers and coming back is. So we are given the multiple choice options you can see on the board. So I am going to now discuss the solution for this. Let V denote the speed of boat in still water and U denote the velocity of the river water. So let U denote the speed of the river water speed of boat in still water. I denote it by V. It is given that the boat travels 8 kilometers and back in 2 hours. That means it travels 8 kilometers and back means 8 plus 8 kilometers in 2 hours. It means it travels 8 plus 8 or 16 kilometers in 2 hours. So speed of boat in still water is equal to distance covered in still water by time taken. That comes out to be 8 km per hour. You are asked to find the total time taken by the boat to travel 8 kilometers upstream and then back to the initial position. The speed of river water is 4 km per hour. That means when the water is flowing with this speed, you have to find the time taken to travel 8 kilometers upstream and then back. That means if the boat travels, suppose from a position A to the position B upstream, means V bar and U bar are in opposite directions. As it moves from A to B, the boat is said to be moving upstream when the direction of motion of the boat is opposite to the direction of the velocity of the river water. So when it is returning back, it will be moving downstream. Then both V bar and U bar will be in the same direction. Here V bar represents the velocity of the boat relative to water and U bar is the velocity of water. So in general, magnitude of the displacement is equal to magnitude of the resultant velocity into time taken. So time taken can be written as magnitude of the displacement by magnitude of the resultant velocity. So the total time taken the required time is equal to time taken to travel upstream plus time taken to travel same distance downstream. So when it moves upstream, V bar and U bar are in opposite directions. So magnitude of the resultant velocity. Here VR represents the magnitude of the resultant velocity of the boat. Means VR represents magnitude of the velocity with which the boat moves with respect to stationary observer on the earth. Then in the first case, when it is moving upstream, magnitude of the resultant velocity will be equal to V minus U. When it moves back, it travels same distance, yes, downstream. That means both V bar and U bar are in the same direction. Therefore, magnitude of the resultant velocity means magnitude of the actual velocity of the boat as seen by the stationary observer on one of the banks will be plus U. Now here S is given to be 8 km, V equal to 8 km per hour, U is equal to 4 km per hour. Then if you simplify this, you get the answer in hours. If you want, you can convert into minutes. you want to copy down the solution of the problem, you can take a pause and copy down the solution of this problem. Look at the question number 3. A boat having a speed of 5 km per hour in still water crosses a river of width 1 kilometer along the shortest distance path in 15 minutes. The velocity of the river water in kilometer per hour is. Already might have tried this problem. Now we can look at the solution of this problem. Width of the river is given as 1 kilometer and speed of the boat in still water is 5 km per hour. And time taken to cross the river along the minimum distance path is given as 15 minutes. That will be 15 by 60 hours or 1 by 4 hours. If you remember the conclusion I have discussed in the special cases, this problem comes under case 2. Here you are asked to find the velocity of the river water. I denote the velocity of the river water by U. As I discussed in the special case 2, that means this problem comes under special case 2 in boat crossing the river. When the boat or swimmer crosses the river along the shortest distance path, then the time taken to cross the river is given by T equal D by root of V square minus U square. So you can substitute the given values here. On the left hand side, T equal to 1 by 4 hour, width D equal to 1 kilometer. Can use either capital D or small d here for width of the river. It's given as 1 kilometer. And V is given to be 5 km per hour. So you can simplify this yourself. You get the answer as U equal to 3 km per hour. Suppose by chance you don't remember this conclusion, you should be able to solve it by using logic and reasoning. The figure shows the bed of the river. That means this is the direction of the flow of river water. This is one bank of the river. This is the other bank of the river. Let O be the initial position of the boat on one bank of the river. Let A be the exactly opposite point on the other bank of the river. So the velocity of the river water is to the right side here, U bar. The boat moves along the shortest distance path, means along the line OA. The resultant of V bar and U bar is directed towards the opposite point A on the other bank. Here V bar represents the velocity of the boat relative to water. Or you can say V is the magnitude of the velocity of the boat in still water. So the resultant of V bar and U bar should be directed toward the opposite point A. So for that, V bar must be directed at some angle alpha with the width of the river. So the resultant velocity must be in this direction. Let VR denote the magnitude of the resultant velocity. So if you complete the parallelogram by representing V bar and U bar graphically by the adjacent sets of parallelogram, and the diagonal of the parallelogram passing through the point of intersection represent the resultant of V bar and U bar. So here VR bar represents the resultant of V bar and U bar. That means VR bar represents the resultant velocity of the boat. Means VR bar represents the velocity of the boat as seen by the stationary observer on one of the banks. So for the stationary observer on one of the bank, the boat moves along the path OA. Here D is the width of the river. So actual distance covered by the boat while crossing the river, in this case, same as the width of the river, because the boat moves along the minimum distance path from boat to A. The actual distance covered can be written as magnitude of the resultant velocity into time taken. D is the width of the river, which is given to be 1 kilometer. The time taken is given to 15 minutes or 15 by 60 hours. So you get magnitude of the resultant velocity as 4 km per hour. Now you can observe that the three velocities V bar, U bar and VR bar, they can form a right angle triangle here. The parallelogram opposite sides are equal. So I can show the same vectors like this. This is V bar. This is U bar here. This is VR bar. You can also show U bar here. So the three vectors VR bar, V bar and U bar can be represented along the sides of a triangle here, right angle triangle. So resultant velocity VR bar is perpendicular to U bar. Length of the hypotenuse side gives you mod of V bar. So if you apply Pythagoras theorem, you can write V square equal to VR square plus U square. So in this equation, you can substitute V equal to 5 km per hour and VR equal to 4 km per hour. And you can simplify it yourself to get the answer. You get the same answer. If you want to copy the solution, you can take a pause and copy the solution. Then we'll see the next question next. Look at the question number 4. A river is flowing from west to east at a speed of 5 meters. A man on the south bank of river, capable of swimming at 10 meters per minute in still water, wants to swim across the river in shortest time. He should swim in a direction. So this following comes under one of the special cases I discussed, that is special case 1 in boat crossing the river. As I discussed here, the time taken by the boat or swimmer to cross the river will be minimum when V bar is perpendicular to U bar. That means when V bar means the velocity of the swimmer relative to water is perpendicular to U bar, then the time taken to cross the river will be minimum. So here the man is initial on south bank of the river. The river water is flowing from west to east. So he should swim towards north. You can just look at the figure here. So I have shown the situation in the diagram. This is the one of the what this is the east direction toward the right side, west, north, south. This is the south bank of the river. This is the opposite bank, this is our north bank of the river. This is the velocity of the water. What is the initial position of the swimmer on one bank of the river? A is exactly opposite point on the other bank. U bar is the velocity of the river water, and V bar is the velocity of the swimmer relative to water. In the general case, we assume this angle between V bar and U bar as theta. The velocity of the river water will not have a component along the width OA of the river. So if you resolve V bar into rectangular components along x-axis and y-axis, we can choose the horizontal direction towards east as x-axis and horizontal direction towards north as y-axis. Then y component of the velocity, resultant velocity, will be equal to v sin theta. So displacement in the y direction is equal to y component of velocity into time taken. So displacement in the y direction when the swimmer just crosses the river and reaches the other bank will be equal to width of the river. That is equal to v sin theta into t. So the time taken to cross the river will be inversely related to sin theta. This we have already discussed. I have already discussed this part in the past in one of the special cases. So time taken is minimum when sin theta is maximum. So time taken is minimum when sin theta is maximum. Maximum value of sin theta equal to 1. So t is minimum when sin theta equal to 1 or theta equal to 90 degrees. That means theta equal to 90 degrees means V bar must be directed straight across the river perpendicular to U bar. That means the man must swim towards, the man should start swimming towards north to cross the river in minimum time. Okay, next I would like to go to the next question. See the question number 5. Two particles having position vectors r1 bar equal to 3I bar plus 5j bar meter and r2 bar equal to minus 5I bar, r2 bar equal to minus 5I bar minus 3j bar meter are moving with velocities v1 bar equal to 4I bar plus 3j bar meter per second and v2 bar equal to ai bar plus 7j bar meter per second. They collide after 2 seconds. The value of a is, come on, look at the solution of this problem. So let us suppose a is the initial position of the first particle with position vector r1 bar. Let O be the origin of the coordinate system. Let B be the initial position of the second particle with position vectors r2 bar. Let us suppose the two particles collide with each other at some point P. That means the first particle moves from A to P before collision. S1 bar is the displacement of first particle. The second particle moves from B to P before collision. S2 bar is the displacement of the second particle in the given time interval before collision. But at the instant of collision, the final position P is same for both the particles. So you can write OA bar plus AP bar is equal to OP bar. That you can also write it as OB bar plus BP bar from triangle of vector addition. OP bar represents the position vector in the final position at the instant of collision after 2 seconds. So that is same for both. So OA bar you can write R1 bar. AP bar represents the displacement of the first particle, which you can write velocity of the first particle into time interval. Assuming that each particle here we moves with uniform velocity. Of course, it is given that V1 bar is constant. V2 bar is also a constant because A is a constant here. So each particle moves with a constant velocity. The two particles move with different constant velocities. So that can be written as OP bar. That is OB bar you can write R2 bar. BP bar is the displacement of second particle, which you can write V2 bar into T. So therefore you can substitute the given values here. You'll equate the first and last. So R1 bar is given as 3I bar plus pi j bar meter. V1 bar is given to be 4I bar plus 3j bar meter into time interval is 2 seconds. That can be equated to R2 bar is minus 5I bar minus 3j bar plus V2 bar into T. V2 bar you can write AI bar plus 7j bar into T is 2 seconds. You can simplify this. So here 3I bar plus 5j bar plus 8I bar plus 6j bar equal to, we'll collect the like terms here, minus 5I bar plus 2A I bar. That is minus 5 plus 2A into I bar minus 3J bar plus 14J bar. 14 minus 3, that is 11J bar. So you can equate the x components here. So on the left hand side you get 11I bar plus 11J bar equal to minus 5 plus 2A into I bar plus 11J bar. So you can equate the x components here. You get minus 5 plus 2A equal to 11. From this we get 2A equal 11 plus 5 or 16. Or A equal to 16 by 2 or 8. So that's the answer. So if you want to copy the solution of this problem, you can take a pause and copy the solution of this problem. Now next see the question number 6. A gun mounted on the top of a moving truck is aimed in the backward direction. An angle of 60 degrees to the vertical. The muzzle velocity of the bullet is 10 meters per second. The speed of the truck that will make the bullet come out vertically is. So you might have already tried this problem or at least copied the problem. Look at the solution of this problem. Now look at the question number 6. Let U be the speed of truck, and V is the muzzle velocity of the bullet. Means V is the magnet of the muzzle velocity of the bullet, means speed of bullet relative to the gun, which is fixed to the truck. The speed of the gun should be taken as speed of the truck. The gun is fixed at the rear end of the truck in the backward direction. So the actual velocity of the bullet, as seen by stationary observer on the ground, will be the resultant of V bar and U bar. So to make the bullet to come out vertically, the resultant of V bar and U bar must be vertically upwards. So here we can construct a parallelogram by representing U bar and V bar by the adjacent sides of a parallelogram. So the tail of U bar is attached to tail of V bar. Here U bar is the velocity of the truck, V bar is the velocity of the bullet relative to the gun fixed to truck, or you can say V bar is the velocity relative to the truck. So actual loss of the bullet with respect to stationary observer on the ground is the resultant of V bar and U bar, which should be directed vertically upwards. Then the bullet will come out vertically upwards. In a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal. So this length of this side is also equal to U. So in this right angle triangle, length of the side opposite to the angle 60 degrees is U. Length of the hypotenuse side is V. Therefore, sine 60 degrees, you can write U by V. Or you get U equal to V sine 60 degrees. And you are given V to be 10 meter per second. Sine 60 degrees is root 3 by 2. So get the answer as 5 root 3 meter per second. In case you want to copy the solution of the problem, you can take a pause and copy the solution of the problem. Launch travels downstream from position P to another position and travels back from Q to P in 1 hour. What is the time taken to travel downstream from P to Q when the engine is cut off? Question number 7 is exactly similar to the first question I have discussed already. So you have to repeat the same procedure. That means here T1 is 30 minutes, T2 is 1 hour. 1 hour means you can take 60 minutes. When the engine is cut off, the launch travels downstream with the flow of water. When the engine is cut off, the launch travels downstream with the same velocity with the water flows. So if T1 is the time taken to travel downstream and T2 is the time taken to travel upstream for the same distance, then the time taken to travel downstream with the speed of water, as I discussed in the question number 1, given by T equal to 2T1 T2 whole divided by T2 minus T1. You can again go through the solution of the first problem. As it is same method, you have to repeat for this question. Then you will get the answer. See the question number 8. To a man walking at the rate of 4 km per hour, the rain appears to fall vertically. If the observed velocity of the rain is 4 root 3 km per hour, then the inclination of the actual velocity of the rain with the vertical will be. Look at the solution of this problem. See the question number 8. It is given that the man walks with a speed of 4 km per hour. Understood that the man walks in the horizontal direction along a level road. The rain appears to fall vertically downwards with a velocity of 4 km per hour. That means relative velocity of the rain. The relative velocity of the rain with respect to the man is 4 km per hour vertically downwards. Now the relative velocity of the rain with respect to the man. Now relative velocity with respect to the man, vector difference of actual velocity of the rain and velocity of the man. Here Vm bar is the velocity of the man. Vr bar represents actual velocity of raindrops. Vrel bar represents relative velocity of the rain with respect to the man. If you take minus Vm bar to the right side, to the other side. So actual velocity of the raindrops is denoted by Vr bar. You can take minus Vm bar to the left side of this. Will be the vector sum of Vm bar and Vrel bar. That means the vector sum or resultant of the two given velocities gives you the actual velocity of raindrops. Let us suppose the man is walking to the right side. That means Vm bar is directed towards right. Here Vrel bar means relative velocity of raindrops is directed vertically downwards. The diagram is in the vertical plane here. The figure is in the vertical plane. So just as you studied in the parallelogram law of addition of vectors, if two vectors p bar and q bar are represented graphically by the adjacent sides of parallelogram, such that tail of p bar is attached to tail of q bar. The diagonal of the parallelogram passing through their point of intersection represents p bar plus q bar. Here in place of p bar you have Vm bar. In place of q bar you have Vrel bar. So you can complete the rectangle by representing these two vectors by the adjacent sides. And the diagonal of the rectangle represents p bar plus q bar. That is Vm bar plus Vrel bar. Vm bar plus Vrel bar gives you Vr bar. That means this diagonal represents the actual loss of raindrops, which makes some angle alpha with the vertical. So we have a rectangle here because the two given vectors are perpendicular. Opposite sides are equal, so this side is also equal to Vm bar. So in this right angle triangle, tan alpha equal to length of the side opposite to angle alpha divided by length of the hypotenuse side. Length of the side opposite to angle alpha gives you magnitude of Vm bar or Vm, that is the magnitude of velocity of the man. Length of the side adjacent to the angle alpha gives you the magnitude of the relative velocity. So Vm is given to 4 km per hour. VREL is given to 4 root 3 km per hour. So you get tan alpha equal to 1 by root 3. So you get alpha equal to 30 degrees. That means actual velocity of the raindrops makes an angle of 30 degrees with the vertical. Suppose the man is moving towards right. That means actual velocity of the raindrops is an angle of 30 degrees with the vertical from behind. So those who want to copy the solution of the problem, they can take a pause and copy the solution of the problem. Otherwise, you can look at the next question. See the question number 9. Similar problem I have discussed in the past, in the earlier triangle of addition vectors. But still look at this question. Forces 5 Newton, 12 Newton and 13 Newton are in equilibrium. If sine 23 degrees equal to 5 by 13, the angle between 5 Newton and 13 Newton force is. Come on, look at the solution of this problem. Now, let F1 bar and F2 bar and F3 bar denote the three forces. Magnitude of the first force is 5 newtons. The magnitude of second force is 12 newtons. The magnitude of third force is 13 newtons. It is given that the three forces are in equilibrium. It's given that the three forces are in equilibrium. So the vector sum of F1 bar, F2 bar and F3 bar equal to 0 bar. And you can observe that the magnitudes of the three forces satisfy the condition of Pythagoras theorem in the right angle triangle. That means if you square the magnitudes of the smaller forces F1 and F2, and add the squares of the magnitude of smaller forces, that comes out to be 169 Newton square. That is square of the magnitude of third force. That means you can observe that sum of the squares of the magnitudes of the first two forces equals square of the magnitude of third force. Therefore, we can conclude that the three forces form a right angle triangle. The largest of the three forces is F3 bar. It can be represented along the hypotenuse side. The smaller forces are perpendicular to each other. As we have discussed, one conclusion based on triangle of addition vectors. If the magnitude of the vector sum or resultant of three non-parallel vectors becomes 0, then the three vectors can be graphically represented by the three sides of the triangle, all taken in the same order. So here F1 bar is perpendicular to F2 bar. So you can try to represent the three forces graphically along the three sides of the triangle all taken same order. That means head of first force F1 bar is attached to tail of second force F2 bar, and head of the second force F2 bar should be attached to tail of third force F3 bar, and head of the third force F3 bar is attached to the tail of the first force F1 bar. So this is 90 degrees. So you are given that find 23 degrees is 5 by 13. That is 5 Newton by 13 Newton, 5 by 13. That means F1 by F3. Let us call this particular angle here as theta 1. This angle as theta 2. This is theta 2, that is theta 1. So in this right angle triangle, you can observe that 5 by 13 you will get if you divide F1 with F3. F1 by F3. Is equal to sine of this angle theta 1. This angle I am calling as theta 1, this is theta 2. Sin theta 1 is equal to length of side opposite to theta 1 divided by length of the hypotenuse side. Length of side opposite to theta 1 gives you F1. Length of the hypotenuse side gives you F3. So you can write sin theta 1 is equal to F1 by F3. F1 is 5 Newton. F3 is 30 Newton. So you get sin theta 1 equal to 5 by 13. So given that sin 23 degrees is 5 by 13 in the problem, so theta 1 you can take it as 23 degrees. You can observe in the right angle triangle, sum of the angles theta 1 and theta 2 plus 90 degrees will be equal to 180 degrees. Sum of the three internal angles at the three vertices of any triangle is 180 degrees. So you get theta 2 equal to 90 degrees minus theta 1, or 90 degrees minus 23 degrees. So theta 2 is 67 degrees. You are asked to find the angle between 5 Newton force and 30 Newton force. That means you are asked to find the angle between F1 bar and F3 bar. As I discussed in the past, to know the angle between two vectors, the two vectors must be graphically drawn from the same point, such that tail of one vector attached to tail of other vector. So you can draw given vector graphically at different place in diagram without changing its magnitude direction. So you can represent F3 bar in this way, such that tail of F3 bar is attached to tail of F1 bar. So this will be the angle between F3 bar and F1 bar. So angle between F3 bar and F1 bar is equal to 180 degrees minus theta 2. Means 180 degrees minus 67 degrees. That will be 113 degrees. That's the answer. So you are asked to find the angle between 5 Newton force and 30 Newton force. That is this particular angle. That is 180 degrees minus theta 2. That will be 113 degrees will be the answer. But sometimes you may be asked the angle between 12 Newton force and 30 Newton force. That means the angle between F2 bar and F3 bar. By using similar reasoning, I mean if you attach the tail of F2 bar with the tail of F3 bar, the angle between F2 bar and F3 bar will be 180 degrees minus theta 1. Of course, you are not asked to find the angle between F2 bar and F3 bar. But in case you are asked to find that particular angle, then you should be able to find. That will be 180 degrees minus theta 1. That means in that case, in case you are asked that particular angle, angle between F2 bar and F3 bar, means angle between 12 Newton force and 13 Newton force, will be 180 degrees minus theta 1, or 180 degrees minus 23 degrees, which will be 157 degrees. Of course, for the given question, answer is 113 degrees. Those who want to copy the solution of the problem, they can take a pause and copy the solution of the problem. Otherwise, look at the solution of the next problem. See the question number 10. Choose the wrong statement. Three vectors of different magnitudes may be combined to give a zero resultant. The first statement is the correct one. Suppose if three vectors have different magnitudes, and if they can be graphically represented along the three sides of a triangle, all taken in the same order, then the magnitude of the resultant becomes zero. So that means it is possible that it's given as may, means it is possible that three vectors of different magnitudes may produce a zero resultant. So in the second statement, two vectors of different magnitudes can be combined to give a zero resultant. That's not possible. Resultant of two vectors A bar and B bar becomes zero. That is A bar plus B bar becomes zero. Only when the two vectors A bar and B bar have same magnitude but act in opposite directions. That means vector sum or resultant of two vectors can be a zero vector only when the two vectors have same magnitude but act in opposite directions. That means two vectors of different magnitudes cannot be produce a zero resultant. Therefore, second statement is wrong. If you look at the third statement, the product of a scalar and a vector is a vector quantity. That is a true. That's all about the question number 10. So the next question, that is starting from 11th question to that probably up to 20th question or next questions, I will be discussing in my next class. Okay.